Hey, what is going on, YouTube? It is your boy, the brain of the mainframe, Nile Scala, here with my good friend, Mr. Billy Tucci, for episode 8 of Crowdfunding Comics. Mr. Tucci, how are we doing tonight, good sir?
Doing pretty terrific, and I got to tell you, this is a good show. This is our Great Eight show with one of the greatest comic creators out there working right now, and for the past decade plus. So I'm super excited about him.
As am I, as am I.
And how are you today, Niall?
I'm doing good, my friend. Happy to be on the air. We've got a great week. We've got some great shows lined up, and I'm pumped to start our first show this week.
Yes, yes. And if I may, I'll do the little intro, because since we only have an hour for this. So let's say tonight's special guest is one of the most dynamic creators in the industry, a man whose resume includes Marvel's Drax, X-Men, Young Avengers, The Hulk, Marvel Zombies, and some of the greatest comic Captain America art you'll ever see.
Yes.
He's a true virtuoso with paint, pencil, and ink, and his first foray into the world of self-publishing and crowdfunding comics completely went against the grain and took the entire industry by storm by taking a look back into comics past. And well over 3,000 Indiegogo backers joined him, scripter Mark Pellegrini and his amazing talented wife Elizabeth on colors, to bring Red Rooster Golden Age to an astonishing $183,900, almost $184,000. So without further ado, not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce a true gentleman, one of the strongest spirits in the industry, the man who inspired me to start watercoloring again, my great, great friend, Mr. Mitchell Breitweiser.
Mitch, welcome to the show.
Excellent, excellent. I love that introduction. I'm gonna put it on tape and play it everywhere I go, so that I'm always at maximum confidence. Thank you, Billy.
Oh, it's my great pleasure, my friend. So it really is a true privilege to have you. You know how I feel about you. I think you're just amazing. I'm in awe of your talent, as is everyone. But first off, I'd like to get one question off my chest that everyone's dying to know. So I want you to tell us, if you may, tell us 2 truths about you and 1 lie about you.
Okay. 2 truths and 1 lie. I'm not gonna say what they are because I want to keep everybody guessing. Right? That's the point.
Yeah.
All right.
Which one is which?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got intoxicated and committed grand theft larceny, but I was underage, so I got off scot-free. I got so intoxicated that I missed my then girlfriend's college graduation. And the last one, is I'm thinking about starting a publishing company.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Which is the lie and which is the truth?
Yeah.
It would be, hey.
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Well, getting to that, though, Red Rooster, Golden Age, has Indiegogo's one of the greatest taglines in the history of comics, if I may. And it's taken directly from your Indiegogo page. It says, a vigilante folk hero barnstorms a cabal of villains hell-bent on leaving him totally plucked.
They only give you so many letters to describe your project, and you gotta find the right cocktail of words to get people excited.
It sounds like a lot of fun. So basically, who is the Red Rooster, and tell us about the Golden Age.
Okay, Red Rooster Golden Age on Indiegogo. It is the story of Frank Cooper. Get it? Yeah, he's Frank Cooper. And he is the It's set in a fictional Americana 1930s. So Frank Cooper is the bearer of the mantle of the Red Rooster. Excuse me. I shouldn't have drank a soda right before I came on the air. He's the bearer of the mantle of the Red Rooster, and it's passed down from generation to generation. He inherits this mantle in World War II, and then in World War One, takes it back to the States, and is sort of like half trained to be the bearer of this historic mantle, and he ends up taking it in this sort of golden age, this dawn of mass media. He turns this vigilante folk hero act into essentially a celebrity stardom. So he becomes one of like the nation's first celebrity folk heroes, and he parlays that. He builds a team, parlays it into success with like becoming the spokesman for a soda brand, for cereals, for radio plays. So all the kinds of things that you would bubblegum cards, all the kinds of stuff you'd associate with like this Americana golden age pop culture phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Until it all falls apart for him, which is what the opening story is about. So this golden age sort of picks up at the height of the Red Rooster and his allies' fame, and then it sort of goes haywire from there as the ancient enemies of the Order of the Dawn, which is the ancient order he represents, are fights under the banner of. The ancient enemies come back, sensing they have a moment of weakness, and they can stamp out the Red Rooster legacy forever and wreak havoc upon mankind again. So that's the gist of the story. And then from there, it's meant to continue on as an ongoing series. So we have plenty of stories, not really quite in the can, but plotted out in a pretty detailed way. So it'll be just very different. So this is the kind of a downfall of Frank Cooper, and then we're going to pick it back up with the comeback story.
There you go.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So Mitch, now obviously, everything we do is pretty much about crowdfunding on the show. So I have to ask, what inspired you to take comics into your own hands and to actually put this project together and move forward with an Indiegogo?
Okay, it's sort of a perfect storm, which I think is probably not the only one in that boat, right? So if anyone's been following me on social media for years and years, they know that I've had a couple of projects, one called The Futurist, the other called Red Rooster, and I've been just posting stuff. I just figured there was no harm in trying to put this stuff out in the public, in the consciousness of the public on social media, get people excited about the characters and what in worlds these two franchises might inhabit. And so I've been seeding this stuff publicly for some time, in hopes that I could, at some point in the future, find a place where an audience and the market and my timing all met up, and I could publish a book, probably traditionally. I'd thought about doing Image Comics for years and years and pitching them on some of this stuff, or any other publishers. But I kept looking at what I was doing and how the market was going, and I just couldn't find an on-ramp. Mm-hmm. I couldn't find an on-ramp in the regular market as it was, and that's been for about 5 years. We've started The Futurist like 3 times. Have 100 pages of layouts that are just sitting around. They're not totally gathering dust. I'm going to make use of them.
Yeah.
But we'd get a few pages down the road, and I'd start running the numbers, and I couldn't figure out a pathway forward. And then at the time, even Kickstarter was an option, and we talked about it, but I couldn't quite make that work for me either. And then I think in the summer, or really in the spring of 2018, we kind of watched the perfect storm appear. We watched the audience materialize around supporting crowdfunded books. Mm-hmm. Some creators stepped out and made some really big waves, and I felt like a lot of those people were my audience. Those are the people I was playing to. And as Billy, as you know, like, you got to have somebody to play to. If you're an artiste, a creator, a musician, or a comic book artist, you've got to have somebody to play for. And I just watched as they materialized, and we started putting We started putting images out, talking about the story we were creating. We did a few early kind of interviews, one with Edwin Boyette, Umbrella Guy, and a few other early podcasts. And the response to those and the drawings and the pitches that we were putting out there was just hugely positive. Talking about doing a crowdfunding initiative, but really we didn't think it happened for a while. But then people just started sending us fan art by the score. Really, I mean, it was astounding, and that's when we knew it was the timing was right, because it had something about it had grabbed hold of the fans, and they were making it their own by creating fan art. And
nice.
The moment was right, so we just turned it up. Elizabeth and I both just went 100% behind this initiative and just said, hey, we're going to do it. It's scary as hell.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. I mean, it's like you see some crowdfunding projects in years prior that seem like they were great projects and should have been funded really well. And, maybe they get, $10,000 and then you got to produce a book for $10,000. And so we were just nervous as all get out, but it totally worked. I think we did some of the right things. And we can talk about some of those, which I'm sure your audience would be very interested in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, I think
we'll get to that. We're going to get to that. We have those questions already.
Okay. Well, I feel like we did some things right. We would definitely do things. We definitely made some mistakes along the way, but I think you can't argue with the results. So.
Yeah. So would you say that your fans really helped push you then to move? Actually, say, all right, I'm gonna do this, from getting all the fan art and everything coming in.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, they helped us create the momentum that we need. I think to push it to influence others. They were just a big part of that. Was a big part, I think, of telling other people that this was a great project from professional creators that has inspired other people to draw, and that went a long way into convincing, I think, people that might have been on the fence.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah. Go ahead, Billy. Sorry.
No. So it sounds to me like when I get lost. I love the tagline. I love the idea. It seems to me. First of all, I want to learn about the costume. Its history, its evolution for you creatively, but also to the story. In the costume's lore, in the story's lore about the costume. Like, is it the same costume that's passed on, like the Phantoms, from generation to generation?
No, it's not like that at all. In fact, we have a scene. It's not in this particular issue, but he gets called out by another character who knows about Red Rooster lore. And previously, he was trained by a pilot in World War I who he was kind of trained ad hoc because the pilot was there and he was the current Red Rooster. And for him, it's like he had a sigil on the side of his biplane and wore a red scarf. Like, it was very understated, right? And so Frank Cooper ends up taking it in kind of a vaudevillian direction, right, where he's fighting these colorful mystery men across the United States, but he just comes out of that. He kind of plucks it out of vaudeville and makes it a very literal Red Rooster, and it's actually very different from my vision for Red Roosters of the past, right? Okay. So it might go all the way back to medieval times, and then it's just like a crest on a shield, or a carving on the hilt of a sword, or a wax seal on the letters you send to your associates or whatever.
Right, so more subtle, and then he goes full bore.
Yes.
Yeah,
full on costume.
Pulp, and so tell us about your evolution with it. What got you to the point to design it like that? Because it's a fantastic costume.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It really is.
Well, it just kind of came out that way. It's hard to remember exactly what I was thinking, other than I remember I was driving. Because we live in Little Rock, but there's everything around us for 3 hours at the very least is all pretty well a rural area. So anytime we're going anywhere, we pass a lot of rural places, and so I think I was on my way to Louisiana actually, and there's all these little towns in the Delta, and I kept passing all these things that are completely amazingly picturesque, kind of lost in time towns, and I kept just seeing this vignette of a hero like with a cape and just jumping over the barns or the fence lines and fighting on top of a train or whatever, just in these different scenarios. And then I came back and just sketched out this character, and it evolved a little over time. It's it's got a little more polished over the few years that he's been around in my sketchbooks. But really, for me, at first, it was just a character that lived in my sketchbooks that I would come back to from time to time and think, I love drawing this character. I love, I started designing other things around him, like the dog and the Miss Midnight character and Strong Boy Thurman, and this sort of world began to populate around it. But the story was something that kind of came along much later. It was a design project more than anything else for a sketchbook, or for my personal sketchbook and my personal time. And I kept probing at it, like, what do I want to do with this hero? And it had some early stories that were kind of campier, and I thought about doing more of like a Sunday strip version, but that's hard to tell a long form story that way. So it really started clicking when I decided I would play it totally straight, like he's Batman in a barn. I mean, this is not the campy Batman. Right. He's dressed up in a rooster costume, but we're going to play it totally straight. Yeah. And kind of once I decided to play it completely straight, and make it a very weighty sort of, a weighty odyssey is really kind of the way I wanted to take it. In a sense, it's kind of like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, in that way. With it's a journey. It's an epic journey for the character.
Any chain gangs in it? Going to show, like, Depression era, the South. Are you going to have any chain gangs or anything like that? I love that film, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. It's one of my favorite movies.
I do too. It's one of my favorite films. I love I just love everything about it. I love the poetry of the whole film, from the movie lines to the actors, the way they delivered it was just, it's one of my favorite films of all time.
Sure, so, absolutely.
And a lot of other people's as well. So I feel like that was a good touchstone for this project, and it was probably born out of some of that.
Now, with your costume there, though, what now I'm looking, he's got like the 3 stars on the chest. What do the 3 stars symbolize? And also, what made you choose the colors of the costume?
Well, the 3 stars, that's a secret for now.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I might really know, or I might be making it up as I go along. But, I'm going to hold that one on. And what I want to do is reveal little things like that in some specials called Red Rooster Legacy, where we go and explore red roosters of the past. And I've kind of charted a history in one of my notebooks, and I'm going to do a story about that too, and I'll probably commission other artists to draw it, and that may answer those questions. But yeah, the red and the white is just because they're rooster colors, okay, and they're extremely striking when you put them all together. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it was a design project initially, and I had an aesthetic, an idea, a tone that I was trying to capture with the character and the story. Ultimately, I got there, but it was a design project first and foremost.
Yeah. No, it's an awesome design. And like I really believed at first. I was like, oh wow, he brought Red Rooster back. I'm like, wait, Red Rooster wasn't really from the Golden Age, but like you captured that essence of the Golden Age character so well that when I first discovered the project, I thought it was a project where someone had as they do time and time again, bring these characters back into new stories for modern day. And
that's awesome.
You did an awesome job at you. I really thought he was from the Golden Age right in the beginning. So kudos.
Well, you made my night, so appreciate that.
No, you did it right. Yeah, because it really does sound. It really does. I know it's not campy or anything, but it really, just to look at it and going through and just that we've had this discussion before, and seeing it on Twitter and everything like that, and then even the Indiegogo page and the art. I mean, it really looks like a Saturday morning cereal. You know what I mean? That you hold in your hands. And that's what's so much fun about it. I just love this idea of seeing cliffhangers and when will what's next for the Red Rooster? Will he be?
Will he cluck again?
Yeah.
The thing is that what I think the readers will appreciate is that we have all that in the book, but it's a little bit more meta than that, because it's Frank Cooper as the Red Rooster, and you're experiencing the story through his eyes, and he's a celebrity. So he has all that in this story. He's the vigilante, but he would have had other writers creating, radio serials and comic books and Saturday morning pulp comics after this character. So in his world, all those things exist, but he also exists as a person and has to sort of put all that in a context between being a celebrity, having all of these comic serials about you and radio shows, but also having to have the responsibility of the bearer of this extremely formally clandestine Order of the Dawn with this great, deep, rich history, and then having to learn along the way that, perhaps that Order of the Dawn was there for a reason, that they were put in place centuries ago to ward off some great evil. And now that he's kind of taken it public, the evil sees a chance for it to gain a toehold again on mankind. And, pretty much the Order of the Dawn and the Red Rooster are the only, and his, anyone associated with Order of the Dawn, only ones that can stop it. So he's got to kind of rediscover his, the purpose. So that's what I think is fun about it. And we were able to capture all that stuff that Billy said, all those fun things about that the pulpy 20s 30s evokes for us, but put it in the context that it's in, put it in that context. And I think I think personally I had a lot of fun writing it that way and creating it that way.
Now Frank, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I apologize.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, someone else. Okay. Does Frank get any monetary gain out of this? Is he profiting off of this at all?
Yeah, you can't run a vigilante hero team for nothing. So, right? I mean, yeah. So that's it. It's you need the cash, man.
Now, speaking of the, like you said that you love to write it. Now, I see that you have Mark Pellegrini as your scripter now. So, what is your writing process? Do you guys sit down with an overview, or a page? Do you show him page by page breakdowns, or does he then write up a full script, or do you draw it almost like in the old Marvel style where you draw the book and you stay in content, and then it's dialogued after it's done? Like how do you guys do that? That you're the creator and then you bring someone on to actually do that. How does that process work?
Yeah, having put a number of projects into motion like this before, to me, I don't know exactly how it's like, because but I assume it's a little bit like giving birth. The baby's just gonna come out how it wants to come out, like it's coming, and you just got to figure out how to get it out of there. So
yeah, because it's coming, buddy. You got 3,300 people. Oh wait, so it's coming.
It's coming. But in this particular instance, the story the character had sat with me so long. Most of the story came together in like a day of epiphany. Wow. So I had this just day where everything, like the stars were aligned, and Elizabeth and I were home, and I woke up, or maybe it was right before bed, I can't remember, and I just started rattling off, oh, I had this idea, solve this about Frank Cooper and Red Rooster, and then I just spent all day just talking about it, and most of the major pieces came into place. Some of the stuff got edited out, you know how it goes, Billy, but I just had one day where everything that was good about it kind of congealed together. And that became the point. I knew the voice of the character came into play, and the dynamics between him and his teammates, and the ancient villains, and the Order of the Dawn, and the opening shots. They just sort of all came to me kind of in a moment, and it was kind of strange. And then I got a hold of Mark Pellegrini. In fact, Elizabeth sat next to him at a luncheon, and I was looking for a writer that could help me out, because I just doing it on my own is too much. I need somebody to bounce ideas off of. Somebody that can put something interesting in the script and just edit with and play, build this world with. And anyway, Mark came over for a couple of lunches, and it looked like it was going to work out. And I liked his sense of story and his sense of play within comic books that I felt like I really wanted to capture in this. And so I asked him to basically come over for about uh, 3 months worth probably of Saturdays. So
Nice.
Mark carved out a whole bunch of Saturdays, and every Saturday we'd sit in my living room and I just started giving him the story as I saw it. Then we started, banding ideas back and forth on how to make it all work and click together. And Mark had a lot of great ideas, and it was just conversational. And that's how I really like to work with someone else, is making sure, I can just throw an idea out, they challenge it or spin it or whatever and kick it back at me, and then I'll challenge it or spin it, or and ultimately in that process, that's the way we did the Futurists with my other buddy Patrick, and that worked for me there, and it worked perfectly with Mark here. And Mark did a hell of a job on writing the script. We only needed a couple of drafts and maybe one more final edit at the very end. And there's some great moments in there. He did a great job. He captured it perfectly, and it's just what I wanted. So it was sort of like Mark wrote, and I was kind of, I guess, in the director's chair. Just saying, let's move that here, edit this out, or change this around, and ultimately we got something we're all really happy with.
Excellent.
Now, Mitch, so for the viewers out there, obviously Red Rooster is still on Indiegogo. Now, you're funded, but you still have it up now, so if someone's interested, they can still select a perk?
Yes, although I took all the main perks off. I felt like at the end of the campaign, I had to remove some options, and or else it didn't feel like it was a campaign. But there are a few perks on there. You can still pre-order original art if you're so inclined. Once this is up, I'm not going to sell anymore. That's for dog sure. And then you can get the head sketch tier. I see it there. You get a comic with a head sketch drawn inside. It'll be signed. You'll get the sketchbook, and I think it may have a few other little items, a sticker. Anyway, you can, if you want to go to the page, you can always expand on that. That's for $100.
Yep.
And then the 60-page comic book, which I might actually make more than 60 pages because I need a couple more pages. So it'll be 60 pages, maybe plus bonus pages. Comic book plus sticker signed for $25 plus shipping.
Yeah, for $25, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. And then you get the book and everything signed.
Yeah, and right now, and all you out there, if you guys wouldn't mind, if Frank could post the link to it. Oh,
Yep.
He did already. Great.
Frank's posting links, and
Great.
we've got
And,
the link in the description for anyone that's interested after the show or during the show.
Yep, and everybody out there, if you guys wouldn't mind giving us a like, that would be great.
Yeah, there's 67 viewers right now. Let's get 67 likes on this screen.
Yeah, let's get some likes. So, Nile, do you have, since I keep dominating this, do you have, or can I go next?
I'm scrolling through the website here. If you want to ask another question, and then I'll jump in.
I got a bunch of them. So, so you talk about when did you first create him, Mitch? Like when did you first create Red Rooster? When was that? When did you get pregnant with that idea for him? Because it's like my wife says, she's like, oh, my husband's pregnant again because I get an idea. But like, is this something you've had for a decade? Is it, what is the, the evolution of himself, of Frank Cooper and the Red Rooster?
Well, up until about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I thought it was 2012, but we actually found the first drawing and it was dated 2009.
Oh, so it's decade.
Nearly a decade, just sitting there. And I thought the Futurist book was a decade. It turns out we had stuff from like 2007. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
So it's I feel like I'm making the stuff that. This is the stuff you know how it is, Bill. You got to get this out of your system.
You do.
You got to get it out. And then, we couldn't be more happy with just how it's all manifesting for us. I mean, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. The next, the energy I think that has been around for that last summer, and that's only going to get greater for everybody. I think I'm so pumped about making a lot of them.
Yeah, what's so great about it is that you got so much resistance and so much negativity, just about everything, and how you're persevering from it, and actually you're doing this, and it's there, and not only that, but if you had naysayers or people like you said that for one reason or another that you lost touch with friends or something like that, and then the fans responded to you and your creativity, these strangers came out, and there's a great positive energy surrounding this whole campaign.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring. And I think it's great for other people too, that if you guys want to do a book, get if you don't have a Mitch Breitweiser to draw it or something, or if you're no Mitch Breitweiser, find someone find an artist, find a writer if you are an artist and not a writer, and put this thing together, because you guys can do it, because I did it, Mitch did it, we're all doing it. This is the golden age, no pun intended, of crowdfunding comics.
Oh, definitely.
Purposely
All the
named.
tools are out there. All the
Yeah.
tools are literally out there. It's just, do you have it in you and the hard work? There's a lot of work, and that's what, I'm learning myself. There's a lot of hard work involved and a lot of sleep deprivation.
Oh yeah.
And actually, you just hit an even 3,300 backers.
Boom. There you go.
Right.
So thank you, whoever backed, whoever became number
Yes.
3,300.
Just funded. Ara
Thank you.
Galenian. Are you Armenian? I think he might be. That sounds like an Armenian.
Galanian. Just funded. Thank you.
Galanian. Thank you, Ara Galanian. Thank you. Okay, Mitch. So you talk about the Futurists, and I see that was one of your stretch goals that was unlocked. Was added preview pages to with Butch Geist of all people. I mean, my God, he's one of the giants in the industry. Can you give us an insight into that project and how you came to work with Butch? I mean, two masters coming together.
Yeah, so our Elizabeth and mine our friendship with Butch began at Marvel through the Captain America office, essentially. I think Elizabeth was she got to color a few Butch pages very early in her career on something, Scar, Son of Hulk, and then he was pulled off that book and then put on the Winter Soldier book, or was it on Captain America? Anyway, I think she colored Butch on Captain America and on his Winter Soldier project. And that Winter Soldier project, inked by Stefano Gaudiano, was just off the charts amazing. Anyway, both of us really bonded with Butch during that time and kind of kept up with him a little bit ever since. And it just, before we launched we were watching the success of all these crowdfunding campaigns, decided we'd take a huge risk with the Red Rooster, and then called Butch before the campaign started and said, Butch, would you be interested because have you seen this Futurist project and all this art I've been pumping out over the last decade, essentially, basically building a design language for the book. And would you be interested in drawing it if we can hit a certain threshold with Red Rooster that I can guarantee that I can pay you so much, right? And then we could partner up on creating an Indiegogo for the Futurist, and then follow up with this project, and then basically start start a crowdfunding publishing initiative, I guess. I guess that's kind of what it's become, or what it's evolving into. And like, honestly, to our amazement, it was one of the greatest phone calls that I've ever had. And Butch said yes, and he would be willing to do it and be willing to, take even some of the risk on, judging by the response of the crowdfunding. But the response since then has been so overwhelming that, I mean, there's no risk for Butch. We're going to pay Butch a raid, and it's just like So it's in motion. He's working on it. He has a script. I posted some headshots he did of all the main characters the other day on Instagram and on Twitter, so you can dig through my Twitter and see Butch Guy's first Futurist art. It's being made. I mean, that's it's pretty friggin' incredible, to be quite honest.
It is. And I'm glad you said, the thing, like, some people might look at it and say, wow, he raised, almost $190,000, for this campaign. But it's like, well, they don't realize how expensive it is to publish, and not only publish a comic, what we're doing through crowdfunding comics and what you did, but how expensive it is to distribute a book. And that's what you're doing. You're doing self-distribution. So not only do you have the art, script, colors, lettering costs, editorial costs, and overall production, but you've got to buy all the shipping material, all the packing material. Then you got to pack all that together. You got to put all those levels together. So it's a major endeavor. It's not like, oh my God, this guy just sold, $185,000 worth of books, and you take that all home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like when we had Ethan on the show, Ethan was telling us with how well he's doing with Cyberfrog, but he was calculating, and he's not even anywhere near done doing it, the calculation, but his shipping costs alone are like over $100,000.
Yeah, well over.
And
100.
it's not cheap, you know.
No.
So please, you know, like I said, support these projects, because it would be nice that someone like Mitch, you guys can actually make something off of this and then take that money and put it towards the next Red Rooster storyline.
Yeah, that's
You know?
the idea. So that's one of the promises I made to my backers early on through video chats and on Twitter and in different interviews was that I saw the Red Rooster for us as a launching pad. It's not getting this book out isn't the end game, right?
No.
This is your, you know, we're asking you to pre-order the book so that we can build a launch pad for Red Rooster, the follow-up story, and the Futurist, the follow-up story, and then more books and. This is a business.
Yes,
we're building a business with this money is an investment in more comics and more great titles, and more great properties, and putting more good people to work, Billy.
Yep.
Because there is great talent out there in and around this business, and they deserve awesome projects and huge audiences, and to be celebrated. And that's what we're trying to do, is build a platform for those guys and gals.
Absolutely. So where's the book now? Where are we at with the book?
In production. It's coming, and we have a lot of other cool stuff coming too. It's coming, and we're both working really hard on it.
Any idea when you think it'll be out?
It'll be out in the summer.
Excellent.
It'll be out in the summer, but I hate to put an exact date on it, because getting stuff to the printer, I think is a lot of people are finding out, and getting into people's hands, it's tricky. Some printers take longer, and
yeah,
some, if you get them printed overseas, it sometimes takes extra time to get to you, and so we're still a little bit too far out from calculating all those variables and issuing something extremely firm.
Yeah, because you look at it, especially with a lot of the ones now, when you have a heavier book, a thicker book, more pages, or a hardcover, you have to ship it overseas, or it's just not affordable. And their minimum is 6 to 8 weeks. And everyone I've spoken to is that when they say 6 to 8 weeks, it's 8 weeks minimum.
Yeah.
So but I think you're very active on social media. You're very active, letting your fans know, and your partners. That's why I look at our backers as partners, because they're all in this with us. And I think what's so amazing and wonderful and inspiring is how the people out there are taking money out of their own pocket and showing that they have faith in you and your creativity. And they say, here, take this. I want you to succeed. And it's amazing. It's almost like a family in a way. I mean, it's almost like an us against them mentality. And people are just yearning for good books. They want fun adventure. They want thought-provoking storylines. They want something that's going to entertainment. And that's how I see it. I see that it's entertainment, and it's supposed to be fun. And I think you're just knocking it out of the park with it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. That I do. I'm honored. I'm honored by every dollar that somebody gave us to pre-order the book and allow us to do this. It's the greatest opportunity and obligation of my life, next to my wonderful spouse and our marriage. So.
Well, tell her we all said hello, because she's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, she's working, right?
She's the next office over, working on her Outcast deadline for Robert Kirkman. So she's still got that last obligation for her coloring, but everything else we've turned down. So we've turned down some work, which is a great position to be in. But we're moving all our energies to our internal initiatives here.
Oh, excellent. So, I mean, because you have such a vast portfolio behind you. I mean, everything you've worked on is incredible. So, I mean, is this the direction for you guys moving forward? Do you think crowdfunding your own books and doing your own stuff going to start to be your focal point, at the tip of your spear heading forward?
Crowdfunding is going to be a part of it. It's even if what we're doing becomes a publishing company. and we publish through more traditional means. I think it's crazy. If I was running a big publishing company right now, I'd be all over Indiegogo or Kickstarter, I guess. But I mean, my experience with Indiegogo was so good, and that I don't have any pause to reconsider Kickstarter. But yeah, I think you'd be nuts not to look at it as a great way to test bed new properties, or try some kind of special edition book or something, or grow an audience and build a mailing list. The fans are out there, man. Just go get them.
Oh yeah, and they're waiting. They're looking for you to put the stuff out. So I mean, you've got this great platform to do it, and you've got a way to make it personal for everyone. You know, and I've asked this question to a few creators, and you know, where do you see crowdfunding going? Do you see, let's say, the big 2 or 3 pushing more projects, and they have done it. But do you think they'll try to get their hands more into the crowdfunding scene? Do you think that this could be something that really threatens them, or do you think they're good where they are, and we're not going to really see an impact from them on our end?
You're talking about
like
Marvel DC,
Marvel DC, them coming in, maybe pushing creators and stuff, and backing, and maybe funding projects and putting them on crowdfunding. You know, Indiegogos and Kickstarters, and trying to take that market.
I don't see it, and this is why. Maybe I could be convinced otherwise, but Marvel and DC run a business that cycles in and out habitual customers for their products. And if you train them to go to Indiegogo, then you're training customers to be habitual Indiegogo shoppers, which would make them far easier for us to access. So I would love it if Marvel would post on Indiegogo, because then I could go get those customers. But I don't think they're going to do that, because they have habitual customers in the comic book stores that go every Wednesday and that order 3 months in advance with comic shops. So it's essentially a quarter of revenues up. Like, they can predict revenues a quarter ahead.
Yeah.
So at that business model, I probably wouldn't maybe go to Indiegogo. But I love it if they would, because I think I could snag their customers.
There you go. And then, speaking with your whole process of everything, I mean, we've talked about your successes and everything, but I mean, do you have any mistakes you want to share, or anything you've learned that you're like, you know what, I've done this. This has been very successful, but, you know, I did learn I'm not going to do this again.
Well, I mean, just having run the gauntlet and come through the other side, it's brutal. It's very, very, very time consuming. And to run a campaign, at least the way I ran it, I would hire help next time. That's one thing I would do, is hire help. But I wouldn't have been in that position in advance of the Indiegogo. You know, I can hire someone now to help me run the next one, which I will do, and have put quite a bit of thought into. But it is absolutely time consuming. I did videos every day. I was maximizing the audience engagement as much as possible. But I didn't get any drawing done.
That's
totally exhausted. And I got sick. I got sick at the end of the campaign, like really bad sick, because I think I just run myself ragged for 60 days. It was, I looked haggard, man. I looked haggard. It took a little while just to recover. So that I don't know if that's really a mistake. It's just like, you know, you
preparation.
It's what Rumsfeld said. You go to war with the army you have, Billy.
Yeah, indeed.
So I went to war with the army I had, and we conquered, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, so you have, like, what mistakes you made. What did you do right? What did you do right that you can give an advice to, like, what's the best advice you can give to those that are considering doing their own crowdfunding comics? What would you tell them that you did that they can do?
Make sure you give yourself lots of runway before you take off on your Indiegogo. But I peppered people with images and fun ideas and cool art, and just seeded the Red Rooster into the public conscious before we even talked about doing a campaign. So that for some people, they were already, like, kind of into it. They thought the costume was cool, and they got the vibe that I was trying to evoke, and they wanted a story in that universe. And then once we decided to go ahead with the Indiegogo and I started making public announcements about it, then and posting more art, then the hype just built for us in just the right way, so that we had that $50,000 opening day. So day one was $50,000. I didn't think we raised $50,000, and I mean, a month before that, if you'd asked me I was going to raise $50,000 in a month, I would have told you, that's a tall order for crowdfunding comics. Sure, Jawbreaker's had a huge success, but he has this huge audience on YouTube, and we don't. I didn't have any idea. But $50,000 in a day, I felt like we did it right, at least up into that point. Getting the hype built in advance of the campaign launch, and making sure people knew that the campaign was going to launch.
Yeah, so a month or a couple of months out, if you've got art, throw that art out using your social media, put it out on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, start sharing it, right? To get those people that it's coming, the Red Rooster's coming, Hero 7's coming, if that's your particular book, and have that launch date in your mind, that it's June 21st, June 21st countdown, 4 months away, 3 months, and just have it. Almost like when you're driving south of the border, for those of you who live on the East Coast of the United States on 95, did you ever drive the south of the border, Mitch?
I haven't.
It's all the fun. Have you, Nile?
I have a couple times.
It just says as little kids, we would drive from New York all the way down to Florida, and you're in North Carolina, heading to the South Carolina border, and it's only like 18 miles, just billboards, 18 miles, no sleep till the border or something, Pedro's waiting for you, Pedro this, and it's just building up this anticipation, and the kids are like, 16 miles, 15 miles, and, and you're all excited for this really shitty place that it was. Not that the books are shitty. The books are great, but you build this anticipation, and then we got to south of the border. Man, it was the greatest place in the world.
Yeah,
and it was just this kitschy
There's
little.
So much stuff to buy. There's so much crazy, weird shit that they have.
Yeah, but they totally built that up, and it just made it just so exciting. And that's the same thing the same approach you did. Now, of course, you're a name, so you're well respected by everyone who loves comics, and just from your talent, and Elizabeth as well. So. You had that little advantage, but that's not to stop someone who isn't a Mitch Breitweiser to just use social media. Use it, get it out. That's what it's there for. It's a network that network your property. As you said earlier, Mitch, it is a business. It's a damn bit, and you have to put it in. You have to have that business mentality, and it might be tough for us who are creative people. It was like, oh, okay, I want to put out a comic book. Yeah, let's get the barn and put on the show like the Little Rascals,
Yeah.
But you got it, like you said, it's a business, and you got to think like this is a business, because as you can attest, right, Mitch, it can change your life. It really could change your life, and that's what Brian Polito told me. Brian and Fran with their huge success, and they just hit over $338,000 for Lady Death, the Scorched Earth #1, and Fran told me, Debbie, and she's like, do this. She's like, it'll change your life, and they're absolutely right. So
it is a brave new world. That's for sure. And I think, Billy, you touched on something that's really, really huge. I think there are a lot of people that may have a great idea, and maybe they've got a great artist, or they are a good artist, but you do have to kind of wrap your mind around the marketing aspect of it and the entrepreneurial aspect. You've got to have that spark. So if you don't feel like you're on firm footing as an entrepreneur, as a business guy, and as a marketing mind, but you feel like you got a great idea, my suggestion would be to pause it for a year. Sit down and read some of don't totally pause it, but read some marketing books, get some, find some marketing motivation and some entrepreneurial inspiration, and get your head around that. Because if your head's not in that space and ready to play that game, then you're not going to succeed. It reduces your chance of success by a great deal, because half of it was design mixed with marketing, mixed with honing the pitch, and that's another thing, getting out there and telling people about your project, just strangers. I would pitch it to strangers, like on the street. Like I'd meet somebody and I'd be like, hey, let me tell you about this thing I've been thinking about doing. Comic book. And they're like, they don't even think any idea about comic books. But some people, I got a lot of sideways looks and a lot of weird stares, but some people would get really into it. And then I'd figure out what words worked on people, like what words evoked the sense of nostalgia that I was trying to get across, and place and time and character. And then I would drill down into those words, and they informed the way I marketed the story and pitched it. And you got to be, that's a big part of it. That's a big, you got to be your own spokesman, entrepreneur and marketer and designer. So there's a lot of things at play, and it may not be for every creator. Actually, no, I take that back. Every creator can learn those things.
Yeah, I think everyone's got a little Stan Lee in them.
Yeah.
And maybe we should all get a little Stan Lee action figure and put it on our desks, you know.
Just keep it on your shoulder right here.
Yeah, and
keep it on your shoulder.
Yeah, little Stan, evil Stan, and good Stan. And what would Stan tell you? Do this. You should do that. Don't do this, you know. Yeah. So, well, I think that's pretty fantastic advice. I think we should have some fun now, maybe, Nile, and then maybe we can go. We got Peter Semetti's here, Edwin Boyette's here.
We got Peter Semetti. Yeah, we got some good guys here. We got some questions, if you don't mind. So, a couple guys are asking, will you have red Rooster hats?
I mean, I'm sure eventually. He has a sigil, Order of the Dawn. So we'll probably do something. We'll do something, I'm sure, soon. Right now, we're very focused on comic books.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get comic books out and then have the merchandise follow that. So.
All right, there you go. And then Caesar is asking, and maybe Billy, you can chime in on this too. What do you guys feel is a good length for your Indiegogo, and I'll even say Kickstarter project? How long of a time frame do you think is good for funding?
They mean like how long?
Like 15 days, 30 days, 40 days. What do you think is a good time frame to post the funding of your project?
I think there's too many variables because everybody's in a different situation. So, if you're ready to go to print and the hype is right, maybe just 15 days, and you say the book it's one issue. Like say you've got 24, if I had 24 pages of a comic and it was a one shot, and it was all done in advance, I probably would run a 15-day campaign and just say, you got 2 weeks, pal, put up or shut up. This will never be up again. And then just let it take off. But there's some projects like with Red Rooster, we ask people to pre-order to help us build this launch pad for other products. And so we're leaving the store open and in demand up until basically it goes to print. So, awesome. Or until the print run goes out. So
excellent.
And then, so just one more thing while we're kind of talking about that. So you went Indiegogo. If someone, why would you not go Kickstarter and you went Indiegogo? Why would you sell Indiegogo to someone, or what was your thought of actually going that route?
I liked how clean the stores were, and they looked really easy to put together. And then having talked to people that put an Indiegogo store together, they said it was super easy, and so I just liked the legibility of the store. The whole way it was put together, I felt like Kickstarter was always a little overdone. And then once I heard they had this in-demand option where you could leave your book up, as a web shop after the campaign was over, then I was like, well, that's sort of a no-brainer for me. Mm-hmm. I think it's also, I think, an aesthetic deal in the sense that the stuff that seemed to be getting more push on Kickstarter were books that had more of a social or political bent to them, and the books that were doing well in Indiegogo were just rip-roaring escapist entertainment. So I know that's not a one-for-one scenario, one-for-one thing, but Indiegogo leaned in that camp, and so my book was definitely in that camp of just escapist, adventure, epic entertainment.
Well said.
Well said.
Well said. So I think we got some other ones. Niall, there's something you love to ask everyone that's maybe a little out of left field.
With my other obsession besides comics. So I have to ask the question.
Uh-oh.
I have to have this question. This is leading. The reason why we're asking these questions because this is going to lead to a special show, and we need some good guests.
This isn't about a weird personal fetish or anything strange, right?
Well, I mean, if you want to call it a fet, no.
Okay.
It's not awkward. I mean, it's just a wig, right? But anywho, do you believe in UFOs, Bigfoot, or ghosts?
Oh, that's a tricky question because I didn't think I mean, I've seen something that looked like a Bigfoot.
Really?
Really?
Well, I thought because I'm like Bigfoot, you're out of your mind. I believe in UFOs and ghosts, but I'm like Bigfoot, and now I've never heard of anyone actually thinking they actually experienced a real Bigfoot. So now we got to talk about this.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Right, so.
I was living in New Jersey at the time, and I was in Chicago Wizard World, or was it Comic-Con? I think it was Wizard World back in the Wizard World days. So I was on the way back, and you know how, Billy, you made that drive, I'm sure. You got to drive through that, I forget, is it 90? Where you got to drive through that watershed district in Pennsylvania that's forever long, and it's.
Oh yeah, I know that whole area. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing there for I don't know, is it 300 miles? It's ridiculous. It feels like forever. So I'm riding back from Chicago to New Jersey. Is that 90? Or am I wrong?
80, probably 80. I don't know which way. You could go 80 is all through Pennsylvania or 70. So
I think it's 80. Anyway, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the middle of that watershed district. There's not like a light bulb for 100 miles. And it's 2 in the morning. You know how you get at 2 in the morning, you're driving and things get a little weird?
Yeah.
And I was riding back with somebody else in my passenger seat too. And they were awake, but getting a little bleary eyed. And something in front of me, 100 yards, maybe 50, between 150 yards, maybe 75 or something like that, runs across the interstate at 2 o'clock in the morning in this. I'm going to get up and do it too. I'm going to show you what it looked like. It runs across
your feed froze when you went to do that. You got to do it again.
Oh no!
You got to do it again.
You got to do it again. Your feed froze.
It was like a lumbering run, but it looked huge. It was bipedal, and I thought was that a bear? Look, I thought it was a bear, maybe one of these circus bears running across the road or something. But no, it was big and dark, and there wasn't a town for miles and miles and miles. I don't know what ran across that road. And I looked over at my passenger, and I was like, I didn't have to say anything. I just looked over, and they looked at me and just said, "Yeah, I saw it too." I don't know what it was, but I saw it too.
Maybe it was a Scranton Strangler.
Maybe.
Now, okay, so do you believe in ghosts?
I don't know. I don't know that I believe in ghosts, but I think that there's more to the universe than meets the eye. I think there's some kind of resonance that's out there that we don't understand. But I don't know. I've never really interacted with a ghost, or I have some ghost stories, but all of them revolve around me scaring the crap out of myself.
Okay, yeah, you got to come to my house. So, all right. So, Mitch, what is the scariest thing to ever happen to you?
But not sad scary, funny scary.
Yeah, not
yeah, not like something that makes us all oh.
Yeah. The scariest thing that ever happened to me, I guess one of them is my ghost story. So in high school, I was a senior. My buddy was a junior. We had a friend of mine who was about 30, and he worked at the grocery store. And we were all worked at the grocery store as part-time. And we were really into trying to haunts, trying to find the most haunted place in around where we grew up, which is south of Little Rock, Arkansas. And there's this place called China Grove, and it was a cemetery that's supposed to be way out in the middle of nowhere, and you had to walk miles to get there. And it was a rumor. It was the rumor that it was all these witches would be out there. And I think in the 80s, when I was a kid, it was kind of a thing, and somebody was killed out there, like a sacrifice, right?
Wow.
For real.
That's freaky.
Yeah, this was back in the satanic panic days. I think it was a real deal a little bit down here. And so it was rumored to be out there, and we were going to go and find it. And so we did on the October, the last Friday the 13th before Halloween in October.
Oh, Jiminy Crickets.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, like a few days before Halloween. It was Friday the It was 13th, 2 weeks before Halloween. So we go out there at like 10 o'clock at night, park our car, and we started walking the trail that's supposed to lead you there. And it literally was like a couple miles. You pass a newer graveyard full of freaky headstones, and then you keep walking and you get to this really ancient one, and it's way out in the middle of the woods. So like Civil War era or older, probably older than Civil War era.
Wow.
I don't know. I guess there must have been a little community out there at some point, but there's nothing out there now. And we almost stumble over it because there's a little tripwire that goes all the way around it, like a little rod, like a fencing that's only like this high. We trip over it, basically stumble into this cemetery. And it's freaky as everybody describes it. It's got like sculpture headstones that are real freaky and weathered. And and then we notice we're walking around on all these like crunchy, like something's crunching under our feet, right? Like it's a little graveyard, like a dozen tombstones, 15, 20 maybe. But there's crunchy stuff everywhere. And we get the flashlights down, and it's half shells all over the cemetery. It's the weirdest thing.
It's weird.
It really weird.
It's weird.
And they're like, what the hell is all this? And then
Like an oyster
we hear
party.
some noise. We hear some noises, and then we see some flashlights coming up the hill from the trail going the other way.
What?
We pause and freak out for a second. We were only there for 5 minutes. I think we imagined the flashlights and the noise, to be quite honest, because we were all freaked out, all three of us, and I think we freaked each other out, saying, okay, I think that it might have been just like car lights from like the roadway on. It probably was, right? And so we decided, are we going to stay or are we going to take off? And we take off. So that was pretty scary. It's maybe not the scariest thing ever, but
It's a fun story. Now that's what we like. Not like you saw saw a dog get hit by a car. You know, that's
that's not fun.
Oh gosh, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
The next day though, I went to the public library and looked up a book on witchcraft because I was curious about these shells, right? So right there, I basically opened right up to it and found it immediately. It was how these witches would put shells all over the ground, and they were for incantations.
What?
Yeah. So it really was witches that were out there doing something. So
it's kind of freaky that you opened right up to it.
Yeah, it was weird. Like
That's
in the
weird.
first book I picked up on witches and basically found it right away. It was a little weird, but that was a fun experience and a fun night. It was kind of a heart-pounding rush that we tried to replicate, but never could quite find any real ghosts.
Well, we hope, if you wouldn't mind, we want to do like a Destroy All Monsters of YouTube shows when it comes down to around Halloween time, and we want to do a scary story night, And if you wouldn't mind coming on and recanting that story, or Elizabeth comes on as well and shares one of her stories, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, I gave you.
It's going to be a 24-hour event.
Oh, God, 24 hours.
A 24-hour event.
She's got a story about the ghost donkey of Beebe, Arkansas.
Now you got to save that for Halloween.
Oh, we're definitely going to need to hear that one.
Okay, so we'll save that one we'll save the ghost donkey for Halloween.
All right. Well, I think we're
at that time, Billy. So, if you guys don't mind, at the end of the show, we always do a quick crowdfunding call-outs. And tonight, this is a good guy right here. He's one of the good ones. We want to just show some support for Graham Nolan. He's got 3 days left.
Yep.
He is on Kickstarter. He's got 3 days left for his project, and if anyone can get out there and help support him, please do. If you guys don't mind, if I could just play his intro video, it's about 2 minutes.
And but first, should we say goodbye to Mitch? Would you play it?
No, I'll hang on.
Hang on.
Oh, you hang on. Great.
Yeah. Hang on.
Okay, great. I didn't.
Hi comics and monster fans, welcome to the Return to Monster Island Kickstarter campaign. I'm Graham Nolan. You probably know my work from my years of working at Marvel and DC Comics. I'm the designer and co-creator of the Batman villain Bane. I've recently partnered with my friends at Ominous Press to bring you the 20th anniversary edition of Monster Island. And thanks to all of the backers that supported the project, it was a great success, and we can finally bring to you the long-awaited sequel, Return to Monster Island. It's been 20 years in the making, and I think everybody's been patient long enough. Return to Monster Island is the long-awaited sequel to my original story, Monster Island. It's been 20 years in the making. I've always wanted to do the sequel and the subsequent sequels. This was originally an idea that had 4 story parts, and this obviously is the first one. 2 years have passed since the original adventure, and our heroes, Mac and Duke, are called back to action. When the Monster Island shows up on the Navy radar screens above the Bering Sea, it's a race against time to get there before the Russians. A group of aliens has taken over the island, and our heroes have to set things right before the island disappears once more. New characters, new monsters, and new dangers await you on the Return to Monster Island. Some of the great rewards for this campaign include Return to Monster Island in full color, a colorized version of the original Monster Island, commission art done by me, and lots of other great stuff. Thank you for joining us for Return to Monster Island. I hope you'll consider pledging your support to this campaign. I know with your help it'll be a huge success.
All right, so there you have it, guys. That's Graham
right.
Nolan's Return to Monster Island. So if you can, he's got about another 9,000 to go in 3 days. So let's help push him get there. Push to get him there.
That's what happened last time. That seems to be his modus operandi, is to go to the very end, to the finish line, and then hit it out of the park. So if you guys wouldn't mind sharing it, again, Graham's one of the good guys, and he'll give you the shirt off his back, his Hawaiian shirt off his back for you. So
And a cigar for your travels.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mitch, I guess on behalf of Nile, the brain, thank you so much, pal, for coming on to us and helping us out with this. With our new show. This is our 8th episode. And it's just a real honor, a real privilege. You know, I think the world of you. I really do. I think everybody out there, we appreciate your talent and what you bring to this, and the greatest of luck to you. And just, man, you're doing it right. It's really great. It's inspiring. And, you know, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Billy. Thank you, Niall. I appreciate you guys sharing your platform with me. I think it's a great. I love what you're doing. All of it. So
Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
People out, and it's great. Love it.
And you have people out there that are charging $500 for a seminar to teach people about crowdfunding comics, when we have all of the best creators in comics coming on for nothing, and taking an hour out of their time to share with you guys. So a little thank you to you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we got you one more backer. You're at 3,301.
There's something in what you just said that I think is some advice I've left before and should be left for everybody else. I felt like I got on YouTube and I was doing tutorials like on how to draw perspective and how to structure a comic book page based on what I was doing in Red Rooster, how to draw anatomy, all this stuff are going on in the shows and engaging with the public. And what you're doing with the Crowdfunding Comics channel and show, you're giving away knowledge. I mean, you're giving away stuff that's worth way more than these comic books to other people, right? And what I felt like is if I gave away the knowledge, which was worth way more than the $25 comic book or whatever you're doing, then for a lot of people, buying the book is like a no-brainer. They're like, well, I've already got $25 from Mitch because he shared how to do all this cool stuff and was really accessible, or was able to respond or critique my stuff or whatever. So if you go out there and you provide value for somebody, and then you offer them a product after you've provided them some value, they're far more likely to embrace it and with a smile on their face and love every second of your interaction with them. So that's just, I think, great advice all the way around for people that might consider doing a crowdfunding project.
Well, I think Nile and I also, I think we're selfish, Nile and I, because we don't want to watch through all those or pay $500 for a seminar. So we're just using all of our friends to teach us how to do this, because we have no idea what the hell we're doing. No. So thank you, my friend. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys soon. Anytime you want to come on, please. Anytime. The forum is yours, my friend. Yes. We're looking forward to when you're ready to launch or when it's at the printer. If you don't mind coming on, and we'll spread the word with everyone. And you're getting things that people miss seeing you on YouTube. So if you have the time, and I know how busy you are now, you're in overdrive, but I think people need to see a little more Mitch Breitweiser out there. So
we're getting a lot of
I'm
Hail
glad
Mitches. Hail Mitch.
yes,
Hail Mitch.
Hail Mitch. Yeah.
And we have a bunch of, like you said, we have a bunch of more shows and different themes and stuff coming up. So we'll definitely be reaching out to you as well.
Well, somebody wants to say hello before we sign off.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
How are you?
Yeah, working on Outcast, so sorry I couldn't join in, but great show, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
first, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
We had a great
He's
guest.
awesome. Everyone loves him. Everybody does. He's a
Thank
peach. Good to see you.
You too.
Thanks, guys.
All
Appreciate
All
it.
right, friend. Salute, guys. If you guys don't mind, like the page for Mitch. Show him the love, and no unlikes, no thumbs down. So that's good. And also, guys, if you wouldn't mind, I don't know, subscribe to our page, Crowdfunding Comics.
Do it.
Yeah.
Have
Please
some fun with it.
subscribe. Put any comments you have, any questions for Mitch or anything in comments below. Subscribe, click the bell, get notifications. Make sure to stay in touch with us and with Mitch. So we appreciate you guys, and thanks for another great show.
Salute.
Salute.
Peace out.
You guys there?